Hello, coming from the illustrious United States of America, home of the highest prison population on the face of the planet. In fact, we're doing so good out here on crime. I mean, we're just catching all the criminals. That's why the prosecution rate has dropped about 40% since we instituted drug prohibition. But it's more important because we got to keep those drugs off the streets. And let me tell you something. When I talk about drugs on the streets, what I mean is that people will literally be on the streets using drugs if we don't incarcerate every single person who does drugs. We must. When I say on the streets doing drugs, I mean they're going to be in the ditches next to the school buses shooting up drugs. They're going to be on the streets. They're going to be on the streets. There's going to be street people. There's going to be street people. There's going to be all kind of people on the streets. It's going to be so many people on the streets, you're not even going to be able to drive. See, the problem isn't with drugs. Drugs are going to be on the streets because people are going to be, drugs everywhere, and drugs are just going to be on the streets. And your kids are going to go out, and they're going to go out to the streets, and they're going to pick up drugs off the street, because it's just going to be so many drugs everywhere that it's going to be all over the street, and you're not even going to be able to drive. And you're not even going to be able to drive on these streets, because there's going to be so many drugs on the streets, on the street. There's going to be drugs on the street, on the street. Imagine trying to drive on opium. Imagine your tires are just not too slick for that. It's a lubricant. It's a lubricant. It's a lubricant. Okay? So let's keep in mind that these drugs are going to be all over the streets. The streets are going to be totally undrivable. We're going to have bulldozers come in and just bulldoze these streets until the drugs are off the streets so we can drive our cars. It's about driving. It's also about kids being able to get out, walk out to the street, and pick up drugs off the street surface like lollipops. Because that's what's going to happen if we don't incarcerate more people. Because right now we've got more people in prison than China, which has over 1 billion people more than us. But let me tell you something. Okay? That's because we got to keep drugs off the streets, away from the kids. The kids can get it. You see? Because if you don't keep drugs illegal, which means that it goes into a black market, which is run by criminals who care about your children. They want to keep drugs out of your kids' hands, okay? It's not the law-abiding citizens that could be trusted to keep, to decide, or a law, or even a law that would just say, don't sell drugs to kids, so make it, legitimate, like a legitimate enterprise, a legal activity where adults can get their own drugs, and then you understand. See, now it's legitimate, it's in the hands, but it needs to be in the hands of criminals. They're the ones that